My name is Albert Gidenji, and my purpose in life is to point people to their inherent abilities so that they can awaken to a world of opportunities and navigate with them a path so that they can realize their utmost potential. I wouldn't be here worried for the people who looked at me with the eyes of God, who says, look at the person the way that he is, he becomes worse. Look at him as if he were what he could be, then he becomes what he should be. Les Brown always says like this: we have not even scratched the surface of our potential. The great speaker and preacher and author Dr. Myers Munroe said, the wealthiest place is in the grave, because that's where the dreams, the visions, the music, the books are buried. And still, after scientists sat down to discuss things, they found one thing, that by the time we are leaving this world, majority of us have only used less than a tenth of our potential in here, which is disaster. And I want to imagine it's because nobody was there to point us in that direction. That I made it my purpose to point everybody to the potential, to the fact that yes, you've done very well so far, you've done very well, but you have not scratched the surface of your potential. If I keep saying this word to you so many times, it's gonna start to feel like uncomfortable, because you start wondering, what else do I have to do? And that's where I want to get to. And I can see one young man, Angry Martin, all the way from Rift Valley, is here. Pleasure having you here, my friend. And we have been talking about stuff that matters, and this stuff, it will be tough to get a book that has laid down the stuff that I'm telling you. A book, investing in a book that's going to tell you what I'm telling you is tough, because I have not seen that book personally. And but for that fact, then it simply means that even in schools it was not taught. But what is going to surprise you is this one thing, that the world, the way the world is rigged is like this: 96 to 97% of all money being earned in the world is only earned by 3% of the world population, and it's not by accident, it's by design. There's something the 3% know and do, the 97% of the world population that call them the majority don't know. You understand? And this stuff now happens to be the stuff for the elite, for the few. Honestly, there's no difference between those people and you. Apparently, some of those people were never born into wealth, like many would argue here. Some of them are self-made. They discovered how it works, and they worked it, and they put themselves on the level whereby abundance is a choice that they decided to take. And I want you to get there. It's a decision you have to make. But then you have to understand some rules, and I keep telling people that life is a game. And every game has got rules. And you absolutely have got no chance of winning in this game called life until you understand the rules. And I'm going to be laying down rules for you to get ahead. You say now, this is the deal. We live simultaneously on 3 different planes. We are spiritual beings in a physical body with a marvelous mind. There are experts in every area. There are experts in the spiritual matters. Isn't that what we call the ministers? You know, the pastors, the people who teach us the religion and spirituality. You know, those are experts there. There are experts in the matters of the body, especially health. That's why we have the medical fraternity that I also happen to belong to. There are also other people who also are very good experts in the matters of the body again. But it comes to physical fitness, they are experts. They'll tell you, do this, don't do that, you're harming your body. They're experts in every area. So do you see now, we have spirituality, we have the body, and we have the mind. We have these people who are now the ministers of the gospel and religion and spirituality. They tick. We have others that are in the body. They are experts. They go to school for many years. They try to understand the body. That's it. We have others that are the experts of the mind. And they are very few. And you are not going to win until you get a mentor to hold your hand and show you the matters of the mind. Spirituality tick, body tick, mind it's zero. That combination is not going to open the door because you don't understand the matters of the mind and you don't have a mentor. Unfortunately, many people up to this level did not even know that we live in 3 planes. Can you imagine? Up to now, many of you are hearing it from me for the first time that we are spirits in the body with a marvelous mind. You did not know. So do you see how far in the hole that we are? And there was a reason why over 2,000 years ago King Solomon said, in whatever you do, seek understanding. Because when you understand, you are completely different. When you understand things, your language and perception changes henceforth. Changes completely. I can look at people, hear people, and I know how they talk, and I can tell you where they're operating from. In matters regarding to understanding. Because when you understand, everything changes. There's a reason why it's written, as a man thinketh, so is he. Whatever a mind can conceive, you can achieve in your hands. There's all the reasons. But you see, this domain that is called the mind is not explored very well because it's unknown, it's a mystery. Unfortunately, one more time, the experts in the matters of spirituality, many of them have taken advantage of the naivety of our people, and they have become the masters of everything. So this spiritual person knows about the mind and the body. It's a lie. It's a lie. It doesn't work like that. And it's possible, but it's not the same thing. Now, they even try to tell you that they understand the matters of the mind. Well, if they do, let's start here. Faculties of the higher mind. Faculties of mind, the higher faculties of the mind. These are gifts that we were gifted with since we were born. We were brought on this world. Every human has got some. You want to know why? The difference between you and animals is the fact that animals blend in their environment. They are comfortable. If you have an animal, if you have a goat, a sheep, if you have a cow, your donkey, you have whatever it is in your house, in your compound, look at them right now. They are at home. They are chewing cud. They are relaxed. Except human beings. Human beings are never comfortable in their own environment. Reason being, we were given power and ability to create our own environment. For that reason, your spirit tells you this is what you need to, it seeks expression, but because you don't understand how to get to what your spirit needs, you get confused and frustrated. And that is the lingo of many of the people that I know today. They sit down with them, they know in their heart, I can become big and better. But how to get there is a tall order. And there's not one book that is written. If a book is written, you have to read it so many times to pick what it means. That's why, years back, Dr. Thurman, a psychiatrist who had been studying patients, figured out one thing. Found out that, wait a minute, we've been treating symptoms on our patients. Never have anybody been addressing the cause of the problem. He found out later, being a psychiatrist, that the problem was in the mind. Now, having said that, I want to take you back a little, and I want to remind you one more thing. As a human being, we think in picture forms. Images is what we know. Do you understand? Images is where the game starts. So every time I mention something like a car, for every person listening here and other people that are going to watch this clip or video later, when I say a car, different people have different cars on the image of their mind, different color, different shape, different make, different years of manufacture. You know, people, they know it, they know the car. Because why? Because you've seen a car before. Your brain cells picked it, formed a picture, and it kept it in the memory. So when you hear the word car, when When I activate my vocal cords, which is a vibration of sorts, and they hit your ear, it goes all the way to your mind and hits your sensory nerves. The brain simultaneous, by the time I'm finished the word car, has flashed a picture of the car. And that's how we learn. That's what we know about just about everything. It's pictures. And there was a reason why over 2,000 years ago, again, the wisest man to ever live grace this land, called King Solomon, said, where there is no vision, people perish. Simply meant we have to see where we are going, what we want for us to get there. If we don't see, we perish. So what is your future? If you don't have a picture of your future, you are perished. How are you going to perish? Because somebody else will have your future in their mind, and they are going to be using you. It's a usable world. You see, if you cannot picture your future, somebody else will. More often than not, that somebody will be, that person that's going to be picturing your future will be your employer. It could also be if you are living way below, and I suggest that we have people, and we have relatives, and we have people that we know as friends that are living in this area whereby they are struggling with the simple basics to survive, the bills. Now that's majority, that's like the 90-something% of the world population. They are right there. They are at the mercy of the 3% that are doing well. These 3% are molding the future for these ones, simply because, you see, they have been suppressed in such a way that they have been they don't have access to the right information, like the one that I'm telling you right now. So for that reason, your future is in somebody else's hands. They'll give you a job, and they just pay you just about enough so that you don't quit. So that's why there's this industry called employment, and it's good because we learn some discipline there and we get by. Employment is very good because, of course, it pays your bills, doesn't it? Educates your children, and you have these more programs going. But you'll never belong to the 3% of the people that control the world if you're employed. Employment, for example, is basically important to get you going. But this is where you now use that as a springboard and understand what I'm teaching you and become. Mold your future. The future is in your hand. Think it. What do you want to be? For that reason, talking about the picture, Dr. Thulman decided, wait a minute, people don't understand this thing called the mind. Because look at it this way, when I say a chicken, a cow, a car, and I say an airplane, I say just about anything, there are pictures coming in your mind right now. But when I say the mind, for 99.9% of you people, the picture that's in your mind right now is the picture of the brain. I just said the word mind. But what you're seeing right now is the brain. And that's where we get lost. Because the mind is not the brain. Listen carefully. In the world, there are about 7 billion plus people. So it simply means there are more than 7 billion plus brains. Now listen carefully, but there is only one mind. One mind. We are an expression, an extension of the one mind. Now this is where you're even more confused. Because before today you've been understanding the mind is the brain. And I'm here to tell you it's not. Brain is basically an electronic receiver in your mind, in your brain, in your head, in your body, that's going now to help you understand this thing called the mind. And the mind, that's the higher self, that's the connection of the universe, comes with some default factory settings. When you're born in this world, you're not born just like that. God was gracious enough to give you the tools you need to use to survive on this world. And not just to survive, to thrive, to get just about anything that you needed. I did not know this material until I started studying it, and I found out, wait a minute, I can order the universe to give me just about anything that I want. I remember in 2019, 2020, before that, I was using One lady called Flo was reminding me, we when I started some business that we do, a wonderful business, we were using the usual public means of transport, matatu, and I was getting frustrated. 1 minute I'm using matatu. By the end of 12 months, I've bought 3 SUVs. 3 sports utility vehicles. Anybody's dreams. Not 1, not 2, but I said 3. How did it happen? I realized that if you can if you can manifest something like that, there's nothing that you cannot I manifested a 7-figure income regularly. It comes like clockwork. And this was when there was COVID-19. This was why when people were told stay indoors. So how did these things happen? You see, you have to be willing to do today what others are not doing for you to be having tomorrow what others will not be having. You have to do something different. By the 1903, Wallace D. Wattles, he wrote us a book called The Science of Getting Rich. He said, we don't get rich for doing certain things, we get rich for doing things in a certain way. I started doing things differently. For example, the business that we were doing, people were telling people they never looked at another person's angle. It has been for the longest time, people have told people what they think they should hear, or rather from their own point. I started doing presentations from the other person's point. I started by showing people on the map where they are as pertains to their health. And that one is a tick. They are like, okay, that is true. Then you start getting them out of the hole. As opposed to going to somebody telling me, buy this, it does this. Nobody's gonna be buying anything for you until you address their problem. They will be asking you, what should I do? I remember going to a place somewhere in Kenya, somewhere in Kiambu, and I was with one of people here, and I did a presentation. There was a meeting. It was a completely different meeting for the cooperatives. There were about 500, 600 people in the room, and many people were called. There were lawyers to come and address legal issues. There were different people that had come, and I was here to try and talk about health. And I was given what? Guess. Less than 30 minutes to talk about health. And I could see how the other presenters were doing. I stood up. My 10-20 minutes, I talked about the problems that people are in right now. I talked in details because I understand. I told them this is what happens with your body and this is what you're feeling. By the way, the 600 people demanded to be added another 1 hour. It was not my meeting, but I ended up going for 1 hour, 30 minutes. Why? Because I connected with people. We don't get rich for doing certain things, we get rich for doing things in a certain way. It will come and when you start understanding, wait a minute, common sense is what it is, but it has brought you this far. You want to go ahead in life, you have to engage a higher level. That's what I'm talking about, the higher faculties. Faculties of the higher faculties of the mind. Because they are there. The default settings that you are brought with to thrive, but you don't use them. And 2 sessions ago, we talked about imagination. Talked about imagination. And imagination is from the word image, which is a picture, and simply means like this. If we learn by pictures, then you are given the power to form those images of whatever you want. You see, the way you understand those pictures is by using the common sense. Already, right now. Let me make you understand this one. How, for example, did you know about the car? It's because you see, because one of the senses is sight and hearing. You hear the word car, then you connect the car from hearing and seeing, and you have the picture in your mind that you go and touch, and you can touch the figure, shape, and you know how a car feels like. You can smell the interior, the upholstery, all these things. You see and you hear and you touch. Common sense. That's how you've been learning. That's how we learn in school. But today I'm teaching you something else. You go higher. And you understand that if the Bible says we are co-creators with God, if we are an extension of God and God is a creator, then we can also create. But the same book says, my people perish for lack of knowledge. You settle for status quo because you don't understand you've been given the power to create. And you see, your pastor loves you. They understand spirituality, morality, keep doing good things. The issue of the mind is now a reserve for people like Albert here. That's what I'm teaching you right now. Because tell me, where else you're going to learn these things in details? And so, having said that, I want to tell you that using one gift that you're given, called imagination, that is imagining, originating an image and holding it in your mind, then you can actually get what you want. If you want a future, start imagining it in picture from get images of your future, which tell me the kind of a house that you're living in the future, the car you're driving, the area that you're staying, where you're going for holidays, the school for your kids, the clothes, the shoes, everything. It's in your head that you have to make it into pictures, imagination. Then I told you something about intuition, and told you intuition is where God sits down to talk to you. And that one is very interesting because that's how we bring into being what is happening around us. I tell you, imagine so big and don't worry about how you're going to get your results. Because when you do that one, you're using the common sense. And common sense has always given you the results that you have. And you are frustrated with the results that you have. You don't like them. You keep getting them. You are employed. You went to school, common sense. You learned, you passed the education examination. You got this job. And now common sense. And you have this figure you earn as a salary. And you don't like it. Nothing's gonna change. It will be like that for the next 40 years. You retire. And you go home and try now to do what? What everybody else does. Complain about economy. And I'm telling you there's a better way. Let's engage the higher faculties. Imagine. Imagination was discouraged in school partly because my teacher, all the teachers that I loved so much, did not understand this bit about them. They did not know. Because how else where did they learn it from? So you might be asking, no, Albert, so now you're telling us, where did you get it from? Let me tell you how I got it, this stuff. If I can go way back, and I can tell you about in the late 1800s and 1900s, there was this guy that we all know, have read about. He was one of the richest people in the world then. It's called Dale Carnegie. Now, Dale Carnegie is the guy who mentored Napoleon Hill, who wrote the book called The Science of Getting Rich. No, Think and Grow Rich. And he told him he's worried that he's going to the grave with the secret in his mind, and he wanted the world to know. He commissioned Napoleon Hill to tell the secret to the world. Then come later is another guy called Earl Nightingale. Earl Nightingale is the person who wrote The Secret. There's something that I want to go to YouTube and listen to so many times because I've done this one. I was told to do this and I did it faithfully. It's called The Greatest Secret. Then he wrote another one. I'm into a very interesting course that I'm doing with Bob Proctor called Lead the Field. Lead the Field. See, there's recordings that affects your mind right at the subconscious level. You know, it's subliminal. Then, of course, Earl Nightingale and other Rod Conant and other people mentored my mentor right now, Bob Proctor. You see, it has to come from somewhere. You can tell me how you got to school and you can tell me everything up to now. But I'm telling you the other bit that you don't know that I want you to understand. And I'm not saying that Albert will be here to teach you this thing every day. I'm telling you, do your due diligence to understand these things. And you're going to do it if you want a better future. The past is what it is. Waldo Emerson said, what lies behind us and what lies ahead of us is a tiny comparison compared to what lies within us. To bring about that potential inside you, you have to do some work. Why? Because there's no particular school that teaches you this. I am telling you this. Go find out. Let's connect. Let's actually create our future. Bob Proctor tells me you can create your economy, and I really understand that one. You can create whatever you want. How much is it? $1 million every month? Money is relative, but when I say $1 million, in the people in the mind, they're like $1 million. They're comparing it to what they get right now. That's why it becomes so humongous. But you come to other places, they say $1 million. $1 million is $1 million. That's what it is. Law of relativity. I'll be teaching about laws of the universe that are amazing again. But let me take you this imagination. Then there's the intuition that we talked about last time. If you are not here last time, I suggest you go back to the last script and read again. Listen to intuition. The second higher, not in any particular order. That's a second higher faculty of the mind that you are given the gift. Today I want to talk about the will. The will. Now, in the 1960s, John F. Kennedy, the US president then, approached the guy that was later to be known as the father of the space exploration, Von Braun, and asked him, what will it take? What will it take to build a rocket, send a man to the moon, and bring him back safely to the earth? Von Braun, in 5 seconds, answered, the will to do it. 5 words, the will to do it. The will. And now I want to do something. The way it works is, you have to hold the picture, image from imagination of what you want, so that you can put it in your subconscious mind, so that it can set your body into the vibration of whatever you want, and compel your body to start taking actions through intuition and other factors. Then you get the results that you want. It started with a picture, then the body moved. You understand? It sounds Greek when you're starting, but as we go on, it starts to make sense. Now listen carefully. So now, the reason more often than not we don't achieve our dream, our goals, is, for example, every one of you, when we start the year, we start with what? The new year resolution. And you are very excited, and you bang the table and you say, wait a minute, I'm not going to be getting these results because I'm fired. And what do? You get this book and you get a pen and you write down, I will go to the gym, I will run around the block, I will earn this amount of money. And you are using what we call willpower. It's amazing. Willpower. But the willpower can only take you this far. It cannot take you ahead.